We're starting with a new unit this week, and this chunk of time will fall over uh, Easter break, I believe. So you just kind of account for that as you're planning out your workload strategy, which ironically, the theme of the week or the unit is classroom management and workload management. The I hope that you watched the video I sent you earlier about Atwell and her $1 million Nobel Education Prize. Pretty cool stuff. And she also makes maybe some statements that give us some things to think about in terms of education and why go into education. Maybe we can push back on a little bit of that too. So just some things to think about in that video. She has a whole appendix of resources, and I know that sometimes appendix C's seem kind of like the part you don't read of a textbook, but in her case, please review these and you may use them as she has them. That's what they're there for. You just cite her, it's all good. Um, we're going to look at basically this idea of looking at what teachers who taught for a while do to manage their writing classroom, and that's what her resources are. I also have included a PDF for you that is best practices in teaching writing. I get a little bit worn out with the term best practices, but it's a nice way to say this stuff works. Try it. 30 Ideas for Teaching Writing is another PDF. And then just would encourage you to start exploring the website Graphite. And basically, it's a housing of all technology tools from the simplest Word document to the most incredible sites to make infographics. And then they're ranked by teachers. So it's education technology that is explored through the eyes of the educator. I really encourage you to check that site out. And if you're looking for a resource, a time management resource, a way to give effective feedback and still make it possible to get students' papers back to them quickly, Graphite's your place. I know a lot of you have said my ideal that papers should be turned back within a week. And I'm going to challenge you on that a little bit. I think that's a great ideal to have. But if you're teaching 5 different sections of language arts and you have different papers coming in, you're going to have to figure out ways that you can manage your own time and your own workloads, maybe staggering assignments, something as basic as that, or maybe just having doing more with the formative end so that your grading is spread out over time instead of all in one big thunk at the end. So some things to think about this week. For our discussion board this week, we're going to talk about education technology tools are in abundance. What will guide your use of technology and choice of technology tools in your classroom? So we want to introduce this idea of as we manage our classrooms, one of the ways that we can be more than one place at a time is through technology. We can have students on tasks around our room. We can have we can set up more personalized learning through technology, but what's going to guide your choice? Is it going to be just an add-on thing, or are you going to be using technology to maybe replace some traditional things that don't work as well? So some things to think about in using technology. Blog this week, and by the way, what I've been trying to do with discussion boards, I've mentioned this before, but just so you know where I'm coming from, is I try to give you replies in your discussion board every other discussion board. So you should be getting some sort of feedback from me. If you didn't get feedback from me from Unit 5, then you'll get Unit 6 feedback. I actually keep a list and do little check marks. So there's a method to my madness. I am behind. If you're watching this when I publish it for Unit 5, I am running behind right now. Okay, for the blog, it says explore the resources. Make a graphic or list of your top 10 ideas, resources, practices. This can be links. Based on how you think it'll fit your teaching style, maybe flip back to that original rules and goals. What are your learning objectives? What are your top 10 things so far that you want to have close by? And create some sort of graphic. If you want to, you could even experiment with, there's a program called Symbaloo. I'll spell it out here for you. And it is a place that that allows you to create buttons that link to all of your favorites, and then you can publish the Symbaloo out in your blog if you wish. But that's just for those of you who maybe want to get crazy with technology. Okay, This is going to be included in your wiki, and this isn't going to be just a list of sources. I'm hoping that you would also include, make sure that you include the why you listed this item, why it fits you, how you'd see yourself using it, kind of like an annotated graphic of some sort. Okay, for the wiki, we're going to create, this is a more simple wiki, I believe. We're going to create a monthly plan, and this is not, the wiki is not due until April 5th, but I just kind of want to preview it just here for a second. And we're going to create a monthly plan, which is going to look like a calendar page where I just was working with some teachers yesterday who they just simply had, they're trying to do a collaborative project. Who's doing what when? A roughing in of what's going on, like what's your rotation? What's going on each day? And are you getting a balance of student work and how much and pacing of your time? Take your unit, and I just need 1 month. If it's going to take maybe one of your writing assignments, or if you want to map out all of them, you can do that. But I only am requiring 1 month plan for a writing unit, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your writing unit can be to fill a month. It can be more than one of your writing units, or it can be just one if it's a longer unit. Okay. So when I say unit, I mean like your writing tasks. So you're going to put them onto a calendar. How will it look? How are you going to pace out all the time for all the pieces that you've coordinated? I'm not going to do a separate video for part 2 of Unit 6, so this kind of encompasses all of Unit 6. I want to go to the classroom just for a second here and look through things a little bit more specifically. Okay. We had a lot of resources last time, and so as you're making your top 10, obviously I'm not meaning for you to be exclusive um, to this. The guest lecture this week is sort of unique. It's a PowerPoint with voiceover from a former teaching partner of mine. She is in a small public face-to-face school, very traditional setting. And she made this lecture for me a couple years ago while I was actually working in one of Mrs. DeBroca's classes, Dr. DeBroca's classes. I came in as a guest lecturer, and I brought this with me. Um, since this has been produced, or since she wrote this for us, her whole school has kind of caught the fever to using LMSs in their classes. So their whole school has gone to an online platform as well as the face-to-face, sort of a blended platform. And she's going to tell you just some simple ways that she uses a free LMS. I put this in classroom management because I know from teaching with her how many classes she teaches. She does the yearbook and the newspaper, and literally teaches half of the language arts course offerings from grades 8 through 12 that are offered in that school system. So she has to have a way to divide and conquer her time, and this is a way she does it, and it's pretty cool. She talks a lot about using discussion board, which is another writing tool. I threw this in here because again, we're talking a little bit about technology. I get excited when I see things like this gamification of education in terms of individualized instruction. Again, how am I going to manage my classroom? How am I going to manage that kid who wants to write a novel and that kid who I can hardly get a paragraph out of? I already mentioned several of these, but We Are Teachers is a great site for teachers helping teachers. A lot of free stuff to borrow, beg, steal, and cite, of course. Graphite I already mentioned, and I threw Read Write Think on here again because there are so many lessons and so many student interactives and so many rubrics and ways of assessing. Using what other teachers have used and tried and true for them is important. So this, as you see the whole scope and sequence here, there's not going to be any new readings in our following unit. So for the next 2 weeks, this is what we're focusing on, but feel free to flip back up here so that you can kind of get a grasp on how you're going to manage your classroom. And then just to see the right part of this, to see how this is all going to play out at the end. I'm going to keep, I already told you about your top 10 for this Unit 6 blog, and we have a Unit 6 wiki. And then for Unit 7, We're going to have discussion board, blog, but the wiki is just going to be editing. So we are really wrapping up quickly. I am excited for what I'm seeing you write about and seeing the energy of what you're going to teach out. And just encourage you this week to start thinking in terms, or this unit to start thinking in terms of how your role as guide on the side will look in the classroom and how you're going to manage keeping all the plates spinning for individualized education and the kind of feedback that's our goal. Making it realistic here. When the same 24 hours in the day that we all have, how are we going to use that? And how are you going to build in time to refresh and recuperate your own mind from teaching and giving feedback and being with students. And it is possible. But I just want to encourage you to think really realistically about this. And it's okay to have things that students are doing that you are managing by walking around, but that you are also helping them to maybe assess each other and themselves, so that some of the feedback is coming from other places other than you, that you don't have to be the control tower. What are you going to do to manage time and create structures so that you don't have to be the central figure of control in the classroom? Obviously, you're going to be more behind the scenes because you'll have managed and set the structures up. But how are you going to put students into the lead role and put the work on them so that their learning can happen? So things to think about. Have a great week.